How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your monthly I almost said Horoscope. Forecast or horoscope, whatever, for December 2018 for Scorpio. So, before I get into this, I did want to mention, I haven't really been clear about this in my other horoscope videos. You definitely want to watch this from your rising sign and your sun sign. Don't just limit it to your sun. Watch it with your rising, because that's how I'm kind of organizing and structuring these videos, is from your from you using whatever sign I'm talking about. In this case, you guys, Scorpio. I kind of put that as the ascendant sign to kind of understand, where the planets are all going to be at and how they're affecting you and everything. So definitely watch both. But yeah, this is coming from your rising sign, so I just want to be clear about that. Anyway, before we go into the whole month, day by, or not day by day, but with all the big transits, to kind of summarize what this month is really going to be like, you're having a lot of movement, like a lot of forward movement, for one, out of your first house and into your second house. But two, we're also dealing with your fifth house. We're dealing with your 12th house too. I think this month is really just going to be a lot about learning what you did about yourself, but actually applying it, actually getting something out of that, actually creating something out of what you've learned and out of what you've experienced. And this is really, I think this month is going to be about kind of like laying down the ground rules of what you guys want to apply and what you want to do and what you want to create. So this is going to be a pretty interesting month for you guys. To go ahead and begin with, on December 1st, we have quite a few things going on. We do have Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. So as Mercury's been retrograde in your second house, finances, money, material possessions, what you value, stuff like that. It's all kind of up in the air, and you're really starting to think about things a little bit differently. As Mercury is retrograded back into your first house, this is when things are going to become very clear. This is when it's going to become very immediate. Mercury retrograding in your second house is kind of like, well, I don't know what to do with my money right now. I kind of want to do this. I kind of want to do that. Or, I want my money to come this way or this way, whatever it is. As Mercury goes back into your first house and goes into Scorpio, he'll still be retrograde, but he will be, going direct very soon. As Mercury is still retrograde in Scorpio in your first house, this is becoming very clear about where you want to put that mentality, where you want to put that mental focus when it comes to your finances and what you have. But it's going to become more of a personal thing. It's like, this is what I have, this is what I want to create, this is the money I want to make. How do I have to be? What do I have to communicate about myself and my wants and my needs in order to obtain that? And that's something that you've learned a lot about with Jupiter being in Scorpio, being in your first house or being over your sun. You are definitely, learning a lot more about, you learned a lot more about yourself, you uncovered a lot more about yourself. And as Mercury goes back into Scorpio, this is going to be a big time to really refocus, making sure that your scope is dialed in to where you need it to be when it comes to addressing who you are, communicating what you need to be communicating, expressing what you need to say, saying what you need to say, and just being sure that you're clear on what you need to communicate on that level. On December 1st as well, we have Mars squaring the Sun at 9 degrees. So this is, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because the whole Mars retrograde and, eclipses that we had over the summer. Now that Mars is in its, closing square as it gets closer and closer to the Sun, and it's about to make that conjunction again. Well, that's eventually, but as the Mars and Sun square happens, this is happening in your second and in your fifth house. So it comes back down to, as the sun's in your second house in Sagittarius, the theme is about money, the thing is about, what you have, getting your money right for the holiday season, X, Y, and Z. But Mars is now in your fifth house in Pisces, where you're really starting to explore, well, it's like, okay, this is the idea and this is the dream and the vision and the goal of the type of money you want to make, or certain things that you want to own or possess, or what you want to keep closer to you, different beliefs about money as well. Mars in Pisces is kind of like really finding out what you guys really want. Your fifth house is ruled by Pisces, so when we're talking about, fifth house things like children, kids, music, creativity, passion, the things that you really want, like love, romance, even sex. As Mars goes through here, you may find yourself very much like, oh, maybe I don't know, even though these are the things I want to create, this is what I want to express, I'm not sure exactly where I want to put my energy into. I'm not sure if this is what I want to put my energy into. And the thing is while Mars is in Pisces, it is going to be a little bit confusing, but Mars does share a little bit of triplicity. He does have a little bit of triplicity rulership in Pisces because, Mars also rules Scorpio, and we are talking about Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun. You guys have a lot of Mars energy. So as Mars is going through Pisces in your 5th house and it squares the sun, this comes down to, okay, what do I really want and what can I really create out of that? What can I have? What do I have? And how can I use that for this creation? How can I take things step by step in that terms of this is what I have, this is what I want to have, this is what I want to create. And actually, you know, it's not about having a game plan and seeing, even though, you know, you Scorpios want to see everything as far out as possible and as detailed as possible. Mars in Pisces just wants you to test out the waters. Just stick your toe in the water, stick your feet there, and really explore what you really want. Really explore what you really want to put your energy into. Especially as this whole 2nd house stuff is going on, you're going to really learn about what you have, what you don't have, and what resources you have to create those things. Mars in Pisces is just asking you to dip your toes in the water and to really feel out what's going to be calling out to you the most. Also on December 1st, we have Venus and Uranus opposing at 29 degrees Aries and Libra. So as Venus is in your 12th house, she went retrograde in your 1st and now she's back in your 12th. She's, you know, really wanting you to value and bring up the things about yourself that you value that you don't always recognize, that you don't always see, and that you kind of repress. This can deal with stuff with love and emotions and relationships. This can deal with a lot of that Venusian stuff. However, as it's opposing Uranus, and Uranus is now at 29 degrees Aries, he's in your 6th house, what changes do you have to make in order to have those manifest? What do you have to personally invest your time and your energy and your effort into on a consistent basis to really have that Venusian quality really rise out and manifest into your day-to-day life? So that is going to be a big deal. Then on the next day, we do have Venus going back into Scorpio. She's going back into your 1st house. That's going to be, again, on the 2nd. I know we're only on the 2nd day of December. As Venus goes into your 1st house, she's still in shadow, but she's direct. She got a lot of strength while she was in Libra. She got a lot of understanding what she was getting herself involved with and getting herself into. And as she's now in Scorpio, she's now in your 1st house, this is the time to really be direct, really be assertive about the things that you need to put yourself first with. Venus in Scorpio is very much raw and real and is very specific about the things that it holds on to, and it has a lot of deep reason as to why. And when you have Venus going through your 1st house, you're going to be bringing the sense, that sense of Venus and Scorpio of this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I value, this is what I'm holding on to, and also recognizing what you let go of, what no longer serves you. That energy being in your 1st house is you're going to be wearing that on your personality, on your sense of self, just like you did with October when Venus was retrograding and you were like, what do I want to let go of? What do I want to hold on to? Now it's time to be really clear about that and start moving forward and start being direct and assertive about that, but also putting that Venusian taste and flavor of, you know, love and compassion and doing things a little bit nicer. Then a couple days later, on December 7th, we do have Mars conjuncting Neptune. We actually have quite a few things happening on December 7th. We do have Mars conjuncting Neptune. So as Neptune's been in your 5th house, when it comes to the things that you want, your desires, you know, the 5th house really is when it comes down to it. It's like, well, what do you want to do? You have your sense of self, the 1st house. You have what you have, it's your 2nd house. You know how to use it, your 3rd house. You know who's close to you and know who protects you and know where you ground yourself. The 5th house is kind of like, what's next? What do you want to create now that you have all this stuff? What do you want to put your passion into? What really makes you happy? What do you want to put effort into? And as Neptune's been there, it's been a very confusing area for a while, and it's still going to be for some time. But as Mars hits Neptune, this is when I think, you know, you dipping your feet into the waters of testing out and trying out things that you want, you're going to find just the right water, you're going to find just the right atmosphere and environment that you want to put yourself in, and I think you're going to become very clear about that, and I think that's where you're going to need to start taking action. Neptune is also about duality, and so I think with Mars being on Neptune in your 5th house, things are going to become very clear about what you do want, but also with what you don't want, where it's kind of like, you know, it's not going to make sense for a minute until Mars hits Neptune, and then you're like, okay, I want to put more of my energy this way, this feels good, this doesn't feel good. So that is a big thing. Also on the 7th, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. So as we have Mars hitting Neptune, where you're like, okay, now I know what I want to pursue, now I know where I want to put my direction into, this new moon in Sagittarius is kind of offering a cleansing when it comes to what you have and what you possess. This may be a time of not necessarily letting go, but definitely being open to receiving more. So as Jupiter's in your second house in Sagittarius, he's pumping things up. Mercury's retrograding through there. We have this new moon in Sag that's kind of like opening up that energy for you to really receive and for Jupiter to really bring his, presence and all that kind of stuff in. So during this new moon, you're definitely going to feel a little bit more like ready to go towards something, but you're also going to feel ready to be open to receiving. And I think that's going to be the biggest key for you on this new moon in Sag. Then also on the 7th, we have Mercury going direct in Scorpio. And so once you have, Mars hitting Neptune, things are starting to look clear. We have the new moon in Sag, you're open to receiving. This is the analogy I've been making on my other videos because I think this is so perfect. Scorpio, I've said this a couple times before, is kind of like a sniper. Mercury going direct in Scorpio is having the right shot. Everything's dialed in. It's like you've been sitting there and waiting patiently right for the right shot. Mercury going direct in Scorpio is that. You see it. You are clear. You are ready to take initiative. You are ready to take action. And this is in your first house of yourself, of your personality, of who you are. And so when Mercury is going direct, I think you're going to become a lot more clear about where to really put your mentality when it comes to you, when it comes to your self-dialogue, when it comes to, things like that. Once Mercury is direct, I think you're going to be very clear about where you need to involve yourself into, especially in a mental what's the word I'm looking for? Like a mentality. Having the right mentality to really go about this and having a very direct and clear, very truthful vision, the way that you see things, the way that you take things in. So this is going to be a pretty big thing as Mercury goes direct in your first house. It's going to be way more clear. Moving on to December 9th, Chiron goes direct. Not the biggest deal. He is in your 5th house. So Chiron went back into your 5th house and he's going to fly back into your 6th. It's not the biggest deal, but I do think Chiron going direct is going to shift the attitude towards more of a healing nature rather than more of like, oh, this is what's hurting. Then moving forward 3 days later on December 12th, we have Mercury going back into Sagittarius where, okay, he's clear, he's direct, but now he's in the 2nd house. Now he's in Sag, and now he's like, okay, what do I want to possess? What do I want to have? And it can still get a little bit overwhelmed, but Mercury is still just traveling the path. He's clear on the road that he's taking, and it's all about taking one step at a time and collecting what you can. It's kind of like being clear on the road that you're going down, but knowing that you don't have everything that you need to go on that road. So as you travel along this road, picking up the things that you need in order to survive, picking up the things that you want, picking up the things that, are going to help you along your way. That's going to be really big as Mercury goes back into Sag. And we'll talk more about that here in a minute as we talk about the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction and stuff. But right after that, on December 17th, we do have, well, it's like 5 days later, but on December 17th, we have Venus leaving shadow. So as Venus was retrograde in Scorpio, she was kind of timid, kind of afraid of what she saw. She went back to her home in Libra. She got the courage, she got the strength, she got the, the juice that she needed and the confidence that she needed to fly forward. Now that she's done treading the ground she's already been over, now it's time for her to go over ground she's never seen before. New territory. But this Venus in Scorpio isn't about being afraid and alone. This Venus in Scorpio moving forward is about having that strength and having that courage and not being afraid, regardless of how you feel about it. It's kind of like faking it till you make it. Venus in Scorpio is like the aesthetic of goth and not the actual like true nature of goth. Like that's Saturn. But the aesthetic of goth is Venus in Scorpio for sure. And I think that's important to realize the difference of that idea that Venus is flying forward. She is, what's the way I want to put it? She's not afraid to go into a new territory, but she's going to do it as if she's done it before. She's going to, now I don't want to say fake it till you make it because it is genuine. I don't even want to say it's a fake thing. But as Venus goes to Scorpio in her first house, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to give yourself that love that you need, but you need to be clear about it and you need to be blunt and you need to be direct. It's not about being passive about it or being afraid of it. It's about taking that energy and channeling it and expressing it healthily. So that is a big deal. Then on the 20th, Venus is going to trine Neptune. I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy right now. Venus is going to trine Neptune. As Neptune's been in your 5th house again, what do you want? Who knows? It's just a big blur. Venus is going to trine Neptune, and I feel like you guys are going to be like, okay, now I'm more intuitively connected to what I want, and I'm starting to be in flow with that energy rather than having to force it all. Then well, here's the thing. We have the 20th, that Venus-Neptune conjunction, and then it's like the 21st and the 22nd are huge, 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 huge days. On the 21st, we have the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction. So this is happening at 9 degrees of, 9 degrees of Sagittarius, where that square was to the Mars and Sun. But as this is in your second house, and like I just said, Mercury's on a path. He needs to pick up what he needs as he goes down. Mercury runs into Jupiter on his path, and Jupiter's like, I've got everything that you need. I've got everything that you could want. I got everything that you need to possess in order to have success. So as Mercury and Jupiter conjunction, that Mercury-Jupiter conjunction hits, that's kind of like, hey, money out of nowhere. Hey, the money that you needed right on time. Hey, the money that you needed for this. Like, the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is going to be really good because it's going to give you the things that you need to keep going on the path that you're taking. But the next day, on the 22nd, we have the Sun going into Capricorn, we have the Moon going into Cancer, which is the full moon in Cancer, and we have the Saturn-Pluto conjunction beginning at 10 degrees of orb. And the reason I'm putting that out there is because, you know, astrologers are going to have different degrees of orb what they use. I'm using 10 degrees for this one because it is going to be such a long conjunction, and Saturn is going to fly through Capricorn for like the next year. So as he flies through Capricorn and hits Pluto, it all kind of starts here. Right when the Sun hits Capricorn, right when the Moon hits Cancer, we have this full moon. And this is really going to be about you doing the things you need to do and getting your shit together on it. As the Sun goes into Capricorn, where we're talking about, you know, things having framework, things having structure, things, you know, coming together. This is in your third house of, you know, your siblings, of your, the way that you express, communicate, not so much in the Mercury sense of, you know, our voices and stuff, but more of like our mindset, more of the way that we go about things. And the third house is, I really like to use it in this perspective of, it's the second house is what we have, the third house is how we use it. And so as the Sun hits Capricorn and it's like, all right, we got time to start putting the pedal to the metal or the nose to the grindstone, we have the Moon being in Cancer full in your 9th house. And it's really about believing in yourself in that way to where you can get those things done. And it's having the courage to do those things because you know that's what you need. You know that's what what you need to do to take care of yourself. And this is going to be a big shift in your beliefs. This is going to be a big, you know, realization of like, hey, this is how I feel. This is what I believe. And this is the time to actually take action. And I do believe that Saturn-Pluto conjunction starting right there is going to make this a very serious tone. And I think you guys are going to be like, oh, yep, it's time to go. So then after that, the 24th, we have Mars, or Mercury leaving shadow and squaring Neptune again, where, okay, Mercury got its gifts from Jupiter, but now it's moving forward on, you know, it's out of shadow, it's squaring Neptune again. It's still going to be a blur, but like what I've been saying for the past couple weeks, take things one step at a time. Don't get yourself overwhelmed. Don't act like you have to know and how to do everything and have everything you need to have right now. You still have to go through the process. So, after that, Mars is going to conjunct Chiron in your 5th house. I think this is going to be like more about that receiving energy of receiving what you want and being clear about that's what you want to receive and take in and that's what you need. But then after that, man, December 31st, January 1st, we got Sun conjunct Saturn, Mars and Aries kicking off 2019, and we're on a whole new roller coaster once we get into 2019. So to kind of wrap everything up, Jerry's final thoughts, Cameron's final thoughts, this month for you guys, I think you're not getting out of your comfort zone. You're not doing anything new that you haven't done already. I just think it's time. I think this month is going to give you everything that you need to get more serious about whatever it is that you're pursuing, about whatever it is that's very much affluent and big in your life right now. You're going to get everything that you need for it. You're going to be fine, even though it's, you know, it's a road it's a winding road. You can't see around every single corner. But I do think that if you guys have the discipline and the emotional strength to be open and vulnerable about what your needs are, you will be able to obtain them and manifest them. So with that being said, that's what I got for you guys this month. It's going to be an interesting month for you guys, but then once we get into 2019, shit's going to be bam, we're going to be, you know, flying. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and I'll be seeing you guys next month.